Well, I've always liked the Le Mans cars, mainly because a Le Mans car is the type of car that you can at least dream of being able to drive it on the road. In the GT1 regulations, there had to be one road car. What they did was just put number plates on that same car and took a few photos, and I don't know whether they even actually got it registered or not.
The Sintura can though by 2.5 seconds, winning its first ever GT.
In the late 90s, a legend was born on the racetracks of Britain, the Sintura S99. This machine was more than just a race car. It was a testament to creativity and ingenuity in motorsport. Funded by the visionary Richard Austin, the Sintura S99 became infamous for its unique approach to meeting GT1 regulations.
Comply with all the rules. The BRDC are more than pleased to see our car here. We just want to be quickest. We just want to race.
Making its third appearance at Donington Park, the Sintura.
In the 1999 British GT Championship, it stunned the world with a remarkable victory at Silverstone.
By 2.5 seconds, winning its first ever GT race.
Yeah, so originally the Sintura was a GT1 race car that raced in the UK in the 90s. It was designed and constructed in the UK, but it only really ran for one season before the regulations changed and it was all over. Since then, David's picked up the project and we've taken it upon ourselves to repower it with one of our powertrains. So the new car is pretty much a homage to the original car, but differs with our engine spec and a few extra features.
V10 engine has got the power to
it raced up against the McLaren F1s, sort of in that era of cars. It wasn't the most reliable, but the races that it did finish in, it placed really well.
Zero car, the Sintura, alongside it, the blue and white of the McLaren. The championship leaders on the second row of the grid. Trying to go around the outside into Luffield, no way around.
Now, as the 25th anniversary of the Sintura S99 approaches, Rodin Cars embarks on a mission to revive this racing legend and honour its legacy.
There was only one ever made back in '99 to race in that GT1 series, and it was just a slightly smaller team than we have here, but it was in essence a similar sort of company where they did a lot of the stuff in-house, so it's really cool to do a modern take on that using modern manufacturing techniques and stuff like that. So I think any of those people that were involved in the original car would be quite happy to see it reborn.
Despite its promising design, financial hurdles and changing regulations brought an untimely end to its racing career that same year. But the story of the Sintura S99 was far from over. In 2002, David Dicker, entrepreneur and founder of Rodin Cars, stumbled upon this forgotten gem while searching for a used F1 car. Hear the story behind how he acquired the infamous Sintura S99.
I went to the UK in, I think it was 2002, whatever year the Commonwealth Games was on in Manchester, with the idea of buying an old Formula One car. And I went down to this broker who specialised in old F1 cars, but they didn't have anything particularly. The Sintura was there, and cut a long story short, I decided to buy it. It's a GT1 Le Mans car, so basically the successor to the Group C cars, and Group C cars have probably been some of the most interesting racing cars ever made. In a lot of ways, they're more interesting than Formula One because there's so much more variation and the rules were much more open than even the F1 rules were then, let alone compared to today. We had it sitting down in a shed down at the place in Methven. I moved from there in 04 or 05. So it would have come up here, pretty much sat around, and I think we had a run in about 2010 and another one in 2015 and a couple of other ones more recently. So the idea was to use it as the basis for a road car, you know. The only reason that ended up being abandoned was that there were a lot of technical issues. The main problem was obviously the ride height was way too low for the road. And when you raised the car up, the tyres didn't sit in the wheel arches properly, so then you would have had to do something about that and do this, do that, and before you knew it, it was easier to just start from scratch and build a car from scratch.
Years after purchasing the Sintura S99, David saw an opportunity to showcase Rodin Cars' engineering and manufacturing capabilities, along with the all-new RC10, a naturally aspirated V10 engine. With the help of modern technology and Rodin's resources, the revival of the racing legend began.
The car came with a spare chassis and spare set of bodywork and all the moulds to make the bodywork. And so we already had a lot of the components, and obviously the engine that we've got is a 4-litre V10, so exactly the same size and configuration as what was in it. And it was easy to use the FZ gearbox. The original car uses this rather weird Yulin transverse thing. We had a lot of the parts, and I thought it would just be a good project, to build up.
Deciding to remodel the car and make a Rodin version of it, David and the rest of the Rodin Car staff knew how important this project would be, not just for David, but for the whole company.
I guess the importance of the project to David is, like anything around here, is something that's obviously means a lot to him, and something that as a team we can get together and create, I suppose, and demonstrate what we can do on the global automotive stage.
From my understanding, this is one of the very first things that he picked up very early in Rodin Cars history. It predates the F-Zero program, so I guess having a chance to have a crack at it and redo it over, it's probably quite dear to him. In terms of its historical value, it's also the 25th anniversary of the car, so it's nice to see we're doing something fitting it.
I think it's just another opportunity to show these big companies what a little company here in New Zealand can do. We're so small relative to all these other places, and it's cool to be able to show that we can hang with the big boys.
The Rodin team plans to recreate and re-engineer the spare Sintura S99 chassis from the ground up. With the original S99 looking on, the new Rodin Sintura will be a symbol of engineering excellence and a tribute to its storied past.
So David's had the original Sintura for roughly 20 years. The idea behind it was to re-engineer the car and do a bit of a resto mod and get it back to like modern technology, so modern ECU, electronics, shock suspension, all that sort of stuff, and basically make a revised and renewed version of the car, I guess.
Remodeling from the original Sintura S99 and making a Rodin version of the car is not an easy task, as there was only one ever made. It's inevitable to encounter a few challenges as the team reworks the car from the ground up.
We had to completely make all the suspension from scratch because we didn't have any spares of that. We only had carbon, so all that had to be measured off the original car, and we had to fabricate it using different methods because we don't have the capability to fabricate the way they fabricated it, and we used different methods and all that came out pretty well. I mean, the quality of the second car in terms of the build quality and even sort of the design thing it's well ahead of the old car.
It was sort of set out to be a development vehicle in which we'd try a lot of new manufacturing techniques, different designs that we haven't done on other projects, sort of trying to build up into more of like a GT car potentially compared to open wheelers. And then, it was announced that we're going to do a World Time Attack, and then sort of got a bit frantic, and we've all been working really hard and all really excited to take the car there.
Initially unplanned, David Dicker and Rodin Cars made the call to enter the 2024 Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge, a decision driven by the team's excitement for the event and inspired by the 25th anniversary of the Sintura. The World Time Attack Challenge is where the world's top tuners, drivers and manufacturers gather to see who can clock the one perfect lap. Unlike traditional racing, it's not about wheel-to-wheel battles, but racing against the clock to set the quickest time around the circuit. It's motorsport's ultimate test of speed, engineering and precision, where every millisecond counts.
The World Time Attack Challenge is I guess it's a motorsport festival where just crazy bonkers cars get together and do their thing. The main headline is the Time Attack session, which is effectively a time trial held on the circuit.
What do they call it? The best lap or something is like one clean lap. Essentially, it's a shootout style event where people with ridiculously fast cars go. Essentially, at the end of the weekend, the person who does the one flying fastest lap wins.
With the World Time Attack Challenge just months away, the Rodin Cars team faces a monumental challenge, racing against time to build one of the most anticipated cars of the 2024 event in Sydney, Australia, a fitting event for the Sintura's 25th anniversary reveal. In episode 2, the pressure intensifies as the team begins assembling the reimagined Rodin Sintura into an iconic race car that's been completely re-engineered with bespoke Rodin components, including the Rodin 4-litre V10 engine. But with time running out and countless hurdles ahead, can the team pull it all together in time for track testing and sea shipping? The clock is ticking, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Don't miss what happens next.